Hey, folks, and welcome to the 100th episode of the Daily Ratings Podcast. We're a show here where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On the 100th episode today, Vin will be rating and reviewing Major League, directed by David S. Ward, Knocked Up by Judd Apatow. We have Black Dynamite by Scott Sanders, newly released Outlaw Johnny Black by Michael Jai White, and finally, A Haunting in Venice, directed by Kenneth Branagh. It's going to be a great 100th episode, folks. We're also going to talk a little bit about us and the show and all the goodies, so stay tuned and enjoy. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing, buddy?
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
It's going okay on my end. How was your 100th week here at the Daily Ratings, buddy?
Happy Hundy.
Happy a Hyundai to you, a Hyundai to you. Thank you.
Well, I would have liked it maybe a little stronger of a week, but no, this is good.
So I like how we kind of structured this. So we'll say right off the top, it's a bit of a normal episode, as you can tell from the movies.
It is just the usual, if you will.
And that's kind of how we wanted to do it. Now, 2 episodes from now, we have our biggest episode.
That's true. It is the biggest. Yeah, absolutely.
A monster episode coming out in 2 weeks from now, folks. So
quite
that's
literally
right.
A monster.
That's also kind of like our big celebration of crossing into the the triple. What happens? The
Centurion.
Okay.
I don't know.
But yeah, so that's a big one coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I like that we're just doing a normal ep.
I mean, if it's going to be the 100th episode, it's got to be a functional episode. So
Right.
we got to get down to business a little bit here. So
no, it's such a random week too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is hitting so many different things, and that I kind of like.
Yeah. Well, before when we were planning back in like June or something like that, this was supposed to be Poor Things, that new Emma Stone movie, that got pushed to December. I don't know if that would have been a weirder episode or not. That's the director that did the Lobster and shit like that.
Oh, it would have been a weirder episode.
Yeah,
then.
So it definitely would have been. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess it's the cards that were dealt with everything going on. So
well, I like this week at least. I think it's a great 100th week. So, folks, I don't know if you're new to the podcast or just didn't catch these episodes when we talked about them with the movies. Vin and I set a bet based on Haunted Mansion, and we were talking about how bad it would do at the box office and who got closest. I got closest, so I get to pick a movie for Vin to watch. That is Major League, because we also did a baseball episode, which, based on the numbers, I don't know if people really liked, but we really enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah. We loved the baseball episode.
So, some people liked it, but I don't know, the masses didn't seem to really appreciate it too much.
It's almost like baseball's dying, you know?
Anyways, so I picked Major League as the episode. Let's start up right away, basically, Vin. We're going back to 1989, which the 80s apparently are the decade for baseball films.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a great point. I meant to even write that down, too. And it's like, man, what is with the 80s? They needed to push the MLB.
Something was big. I think it's because of Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
I think Field of Dreams came out and it was just like, well, I guess we're doing this decade. But we're going back to 1989. This is Major League. Hour and 47 minutes, and I can't wait to talk about it. I watched this film 2.5 times.
Oh, my God.
So I don't even know where to start right away, but did you think this was a film starring, as a lead star, Charlie Sheen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. From the glasses to Wild Thing to all that stuff with his performance. Absolutely.
So how many minutes into the movie did you realize Charlie Sheen was not the main guy?
Pretty immediately.
Okay.
And it is kind of, I think it's a good recommendation. Obviously, the bet for this was made back in Haunted Mansion, but hindsight 2020, what I was craving for in that baseball episode was a team story. And I think this is a team story, you know, more than anything.
That was my critique with Field of Dreams, where you really didn't know any of, like I said, can you name me one team member's name? No. And you can't do it. It wasn't about the team at all.
Right.
And this is all about the team.
All about the team. Big characters and everything like that. So, I mean, I can safely say I probably would not watch this under normal circumstances. Folks, this is not normal circumstances.
Were you excited? You were on a baseball high still after the baseball episode.
Yeah.
Were you excited going into this?
I was.
And what were you expecting?
I don't know. I was expecting more comedy, even though you kind of primed me and said, well, it is comedy, but it's not. The second one is really more the slapstick style to it.
More so. Second, because Major League 2 comes out, it's PG-13 comedy.
Yeah.
And it's way more comedy. It's a lot more, Charlie Sheen's more of a main guy. And this one it's rated R.
Yeah.
Hour and 47. Yeah. It's
among the many rated R baseball films. You know?
It's true, yeah.
They like these rated R films.
I'm glad you weren't dreading it then.
No, I wasn't dreading it. Did I love it? I think the film hits a real good stride eventually, but I wasn't infatuated with this film, and it makes me worry when you said you watch it 2.5 times, because that's the rule for a must-watch on my side of the table. So I don't know.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay.
But folks, this is our deformed offspring of the baseball episode and a lost bet. So here we are watching this kind of baseball spoof movie in the heyday of the baseballs. I'll just say right off the back, wow, we got some serious 80 vibes in this.
Yeah.
I mean, from the acting talent to the copious slap bass in the soundtrack. I mean, this movie really drips 89. Just enough of that brassy Casio keyboard to keep it out of the 90s and in that Star Trek Next Gen feel that I've described before.
Yeah, the music it's super 80s.
Yeah.
Super Cleveland, too. Oh. Just the depressing town in the beginning. It all works.
Yeah, that's actually one thing. I didn't bring it up in the baseball episode, but I'll bring it up here. Not that I have any kind of major insight or kind of conclusions to make, but I think it's interesting in all these baseball episodes what love they give to what teams and what cities.
Yeah.
I don't know if that plays into like true underdogs in baseball at the time, or this coming out in 89, were the Indians having like a really bad losing streak?
So it's directed by David S. Ward, and I believe how it goes is he was a big Cleveland fan, and he always wanted them to do well, but if it's something like the only way to make that happen is to actually make a movie about them doing well. So he has a passion. He wanted to be around the Cleveland Indians. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow. They're not known as a great team.
Okay.
They're not, well, they're not even known as the Indians anymore. But
right.
back then, they're not so great.
Yeah. Well, in Major League, folks, the Cleveland Indians is a team on a terrible, terrible losing streak. Under some new ownership of the team, on top of that, it means that they have some different priorities for the season. The goal is to come in dead last from the ownership of the team in order to relocate in a sweet deal down to Florida and get rid of all of this troublesome Ohio baseball that seems to be cursing them. One thing I think I would have loved a little bit more is maybe, again, the aspect of superstition in baseball.
Yeah,
I think that would have been cool here. But you do get what I was craving for the entire baseball episode. All 5 of those movies was that just I wanted a story following the team through the season, and that's what Major League One is. It's just basically putting the team together and stumbling through the season until they don't stumble through the season. Basically.
Right.
So, my assumption about this movie was that it was something like 1980s Stripes or 1984's Police Academy, a ragtag motley crew of characters stuck together as a team with no chance of success. And, this movie doesn't have much of a comedy focus as those other films, especially not Stripes with Bill Murray and Police Academy, Michael Winslow.
I love the connection. I love that connection.
Yeah, I feel like that is how you, or at least one way of how you write a comedy in the 80s is that you just put, the misfits together, which is successful. But, this hits on every other mark of being an ensemble cast of loser characters. It doesn't have the same comedy as those two others, but I feel like it does fall into it.
Yeah.
And you would agree.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, when I was watching this film, it just took me a solid minute to get engaged with it.
You weren't doing other things in the background, were you?
No,
okay.
no, I was in. Listen, it's a bet. I am an honorable man. I was as engaged with this as I would be The Godfather.
Thank God we didn't watch it together. Yeah. I would have been insufferable to deal with.
Well, let me ask you honestly.
Yeah.
The first hour is what I have my gripes on the film with.
Okay, all right.
In that it's just kind of slow. It's objectiveless. It's just kind of like languishing. We also get this romance plot, which I feel like is honestly a ripoff of Bull Durham, like 100%.
So I don't mind because it's so baseball heavy and you're with the team so much. I'm okay with we still need scenes outside or off the field. So I'm okay with the romance plot. It's still a movie. I think it could have been shortened up. I think it takes up a little bit too much time, but not a crazy amount. I'm not super disappointed with it.
Yeah.
It just becomes a little bit rinse and repeat, or each scene could be shortened up a little bit.
Okay.
Yes. Now, I heard that critique before where it's a little bit slow. Everyone loves the last half hour.
Right.
But
that's when it hits its stride, and something I just wish, even in the energy of scenes, I wish it was just there a little bit earlier.
I really like, but what's wrong with the first hour?
I wouldn't say there's anything wrong. It's just more so objectiveless. It feels like it languishes.
Really?
It just, we don't have a way that we're rallying the team, and because they're all right with... I guess the Indians are all right with losing in this just because they don't understand the stakes of losing. So if the stakes aren't there for the character, that's where I'm like, am I really caring about this?
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, I really have opposite feelings. I love the first hour.
Okay.
I love the whole movie. But the first hour I like because, one, I like the team coming together. And it's not a perfect movie. I'm happy to talk about where I have issues with it.
Sure.
I like the team coming together and being as bad as you think they are. I don't think it's objectiveless at all because the first part of the movie with the team, each individual character is kind of in it for themselves for their own reasons. So there is, I do feel like there's objectives. They're just singular objectives for each character until we hit that hour mark where now we're in it with the team. And then you feel that main objective big time. It's shoved in your face what the objective is. Getting to know the setup with getting to know the characters and then kind of just the rough start to the season. Yeah. And I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Because, I don't know, Tom Berenger, who plays main character, Jake Taylor, who plays the catcher, he just reminds me so much of an actual lower level baseball guy.
Right.
Even like when they're on screen, the way he's chewing gum and everyone's actually naturally sweaty.
Yeah.
And it just
he's got this ever tan on him from being out in the field.
People really feel there's a few characters that really feel like actual baseball players, and it just there's an authenticity there that I really appreciate. Even though it's a comedy baseball film, so it's like outrageous, dumb humor at times.
Right.
There's some characters that really just make it feel like, okay, that guy feels like a real baseball. There's a lot of actual baseball players in this movie.
Oh, really?
Which I appreciate. Yeah, even the one guy, the big guy in the Yankees, the one who's spitting with the mustaches up.
He's constantly spitting.
He was a real baseball player.
Oh,
and actually
okay.
just I think very, very good for a few years. One of the best characters in the entire movie is the announcer.
Yeah.
And he's phenomenal and also reminds me of Bob Barker a lot.
Yeah.
But he was a real baseball player.
Oh.
The third base coach in the movie, he was a baseball player.
Wow.
So there's baseball people in the film.
Interesting.
I love the way the games look too. They filmed especially towards the end of the movie, they filmed in an actual like AAA stadium. Like they actually had like 20 to 30,000 people in the stands.
Wow.
While making the movie.
That's great.
That's also a good vibe. But rambling now. But that first hour, I like it because I'm happy to get to know the team, and it just feels very baseball. The whole tryouts and the red card and everything like that. There's silliness, there's stupidity there.
No, but I like that.
I love when Charlie Sheen gets into the fight with the one guy, and all of a sudden F-bombs are being thrown, and it's just like, wait, is this a dumb comedy, or is this serious? How should I take this? It rides on a bit of an edge, but...
I totally agree with that.
That first hour, I'm okay with, personally.
Sure. Maybe there's... I don't want to say that it's wasted time, because, one, it's solidifying how bad they are and how likely they will succeed at coming in very last place,
right.
To the ownerships. I forget the actress's name. But when it comes down to it, I mean, it is getting us to know the team, which I don't think is wasted time. It just feels like it kind of spun around a little bit.
Meandering a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When it comes to that comedy, I'm with you that I wouldn't call this, I don't know, I guess it is a comedy. But it just feels like such a kind of a locker room kind of boys thing. Really, the only person that I would say is an overtly comedic character is the Allstate guy.
Yeah, that's Pedro Serrano. Yeah.
I mean, because he's the only one that's like a caricature of something, being this kind of like voodoo superstition. And if anything, that's the superstition in the baseball side of it. So, it's necessary for us to get to really familiar with the team, for us to root with them, and a little something magical happens at a little bit of an hour in, and this underdog story really gets a solid objective. The team rallies behind not coming in last place,
right.
And as ridiculous as it is, I mean, I think the coach says that he needs like 38 wins or something like that. Is that even possible in the season? Or
Yeah. Well, back then it was a 162 game season.
Oh, okay.
Now we're at 172. And he was saying, I think to get the pennant or whatever, he's like, I estimate that we need 38 wins. Yeah. 38 more wins. Yeah.
And it's great to see the rise. I mean, in that ways, I think this is a decent baseball movie because it scratched that itch of what I was looking for. Yeah. It tightens up where the plot needs to be and challenges the team to overcome what's against them.
You were definitely in it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think rallying the team earlier around sticking it to their ownership would have been key to, I think, some better pacing in the film. But I think that last 40 minutes of the film has some serious great moments of it that could hype up any viewer. It certainly captured me, not even understanding how many games are in a baseball season. It's just showing my bias a little bit, but it takes that I would call a little bit of an unengaging first hour to get there. Regardless, I think when you get there, you do fall in love with this team, and I feel like that there's something of merit there. Scenes like when Charlie Sheen comes out to Wild Thing, it feels like not only is it a good scene for energy, good scene for finales, but it feels earned because we saw how they progressed throughout the season.
The struggle
that's
through
what
the season.
I was just looking for with a team of focus. Going through the season, ups and downs to it, and I think this movie does have that. I was not crazy about it.
I get it.
Yeah. I think I'm very curious to hear your thoughts, especially 2.5 watches in. Maybe one stop that half watch in.
Fell asleep.
Yeah. Okay. He's like, I've seen this one already. But with that said, I think this is a good cap off for the baseball week, not because it was the best of the baseball bunch, but it really did hit on what I was craving for and kind of creates a good spectrum of what I think different types of baseball movies can be. Not just this romance, rough and tumble thing, but also just about the baseball itself and winning the season.
I mean, this is the 6th baseball film we watched. Would you say that this had the most baseball in it?
I think so. Yeah. But I don't know if the score reflects that.
That's fine. That's okay.
So, I mean, despite what I wanted, I don't know in execution if this was the one for, to rise above the rest.
Okay.
With that. Despite me saying, I really just wanted that. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and give Major League a 60 on the dot.
Okay, 60 on the dot. Boy, we got there quick. 60.
It was going to be lower. I'm telling you, it was lower for a lot of the week. But I really had to sit with just like how much, because my initial critique of the last 30, that I thought it was like some razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's earned there through the love of the team and, a good ensemble performances,
Yeah. The last half an hour is electric. The last game is phenomenal, and it just feels like real baseball. As I said, Tom Berenger, I don't know where he went. Apparently he played a role in Inception.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then now he is in bad movies now. And I tried to watch one of them. God awful. But I want him to come back a little bit. He's still around. I want Major League 4 so bad.
Right, yeah, because there's a third one. It's like Back to the Little League or something.
Exactly. You can't take it too seriously. 1 and 2 are really the main pair.
Yeah.
But Tom Berenger, like I said, I really liked him as the main character. A little bit too much romance, but I didn't mind it too much. I knew it's just, I feel like you have to have something off the field.
Right.
And there was a couple scenes that I actually kind of liked. Maybe a little bit too stalker-ish, and maybe just
certainly
cut it back 5 minutes or something like that in total. But really felt like a real catcher, and I appreciated that. Charlie Sheen was actually a very good pitcher in high school.
Oh, really?
But his grades sucked, so he couldn't go to college or something like that. But something like he did actually have an 85, 86 mile an hour fastball in real life.
Wow.
He knew how to pitch. The team in real life loved going out together. They were in during shooting, always went out to the bars and everything like that together. They were a real team. Like they enjoyed each other's company a lot. Tom Berenger and Charlie Sheen together. This was a bit of a reunion too because they were in Platoon.
Oh, of course.
But man, what I don't like, there's definitely some of the comedy does not hit at all, and it's almost, especially with you have the manager and the owner of the team, and I feel like it's so kiddish, or it's just over the top, where it's almost like they forget that, hey, it's a rated R comedy, not a PG comedy.
Sure.
So the comedy could have been amped up a little bit. It's just silly locker room kind of.
Yeah, that's
as you said.
I kind of even refer to it as loose. It's not. I don't feel like it's trying to make jokes and falling flat on its face. It's just kind of like they throw some things out there, and that's just like, all right, it hangs, and if it hits, it hits. I didn't think it hits, but
okay. All the baseball aspects, I love it. It just feels like a baseball movie, and I really appreciated that. Field of Dreams, I just had a lot of issues with. And even The Rookie, I just definitely had some issues with big time. And it just felt was a baseball movie. You're hanging with the crew. And it was good to see them dirty and roughed up, and it just seemed like a ragtag team.
Sure.
So it came across great. I have a blast with this film. I love this film. I love basically every single character in this film. I got to tell you, it's not perfect by any means. So it doesn't have any laces, but this is 2 very highly polished shoes. Highly polished shoes for Tommy Two Shoes.
That's great. That's great.
I adore this film. I love this film.
That's fantastic.
So I just want more Tom Berenger in my life, and yeah, it's just, I could talk a lot. I honestly have a lot of research on the film, and I'm just going to waste too much time talking about it, so we should probably
That's great, though. No, I think that's important for not only perspective for it, but also like your appreciation of the baseball elements, which are completely lost on me.
Yeah, and but even like at the end, love the game against the Yankees. You probably learned something in baseball, maybe even. Do you have any questions for me coming off of it before we end it?
Questions for baseball?
No. Well, just about the movie or anything like that.
Who would you want in Major League 4?
Everyone. The exact same. I adore this film. I love this film. I can't give it a lace, but
listen,
man, those 2 shoes are polished, and everyone give it a watch. I'm probably gonna watch it tonight.
Some baseball cleats.
After we wrap this up, I'm probably gonna watch it tonight. I freaking love this movie.
That's great. I love that.
Okay, all right. Let's just keep things moving then right away. That's long enough. We're gonna continue with our Judd Apatow study. So we're jumping to 2007, and this is Knocked Up. And Vin, how do we like it?
Well, yeah, we continued the Judd Apatow study with, one of the most successful comedy platforms for Seth Rogen. I feel like Knocked Up in 2007 really pushed Seth Rogen to the next level, both being seen as a leading man, but also for his comedy. And flashback to 2007, this was really the second biggest thing people cared about, was that Katherine Heigl was turning her back on Grey's Anatomy to act in a comedy with that stoner guy. So, acceptable answers for the number one thing people cared about in 2007 was, oh my God, honey, we're losing the house. So that's number one. But Katherine Heigl leaving Grey's Anatomy was the second one for sure.
I had no idea.
See, I'll handle TV trivia. You handle the baseball. That's the deal. Knocked Up is, I would say in 2007, a bit more interesting of a comedy coming out than watching it in modern day. I feel like back then, this comes off as one of the more unique rom-com structures for how casually we're introduced to characters, how casually we're introduced to sex and pregnancy, and how day in the life the plot unfolds. But I feel like watching this today, it comes off a little bit oddly paced and lacking some of the magic of 40-Year-Old Virgin. That was the real head-to-head here for the study.
Okay.
In a lot of ways, I think 40-Year-Old Virgin works and is a better comedy, but in other ways, I think Knocked Up, even though it's more structured to like a typical rom-com, it is probably the slightly better of a movie. Not that it has to be a comparison game. I don't like the comparison game, but
it makes sense because this is Judd Apatow through and through.
Yeah.
I mean, he's writing and directing these two films.
Right.
And we were hoping to get a little bit better than 40-Year-Old Virgin coming off of it. Mm-hmm. You liked it a little bit more than me, I think, but 40-Year-Old Virgin was so hindered because you are with those four bros for the most part, basically.
Yeah.
And with this, you're getting a more complete, maybe, film. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's at least a good supporting cast on both sides of the relationship, where we don't get that simply with 40-Year-Old Virgin.
It's a bigger film, it kind of seems like. It's 2 hours and 9 minutes, which I just think is too long, probably.
Yeah, I agree. But it's hard to put into words how I think small moments in the improv are slight misses in this film, especially at the start of the movie. I just don't think scenes have a very good rhythm between each other for being just the beginning stretch of the film where we're kind of ramping up. But once we get in the groove and knee deep in the plot, I think it does make up for it. And if anything, the more typical structure, like I was saying, of the rom-com steps in to make this a solid entry for our study.
Okay.
Knocked Up is about the unlikely couple of an E-News host and a stoner man-child hooking up and staying together over a baby. This is very much still in day-in-the-life comedy, or day-in-the-life style of comedy for Apatow. So much so that the plot really just ticks along that 9-month period exactly. And that's where I think some of it's forced to be in this 2-hour plus category, just for how
much time you got to cover.
Things have to kind of just languish and just be mundane and day in the life and just kind of how it is. Each side of the relationship comes with some baggage, though. Rogen's stoner frat house might seem like the worst deal, but Heigl brings an overbearing sister with a crumbling marriage that foreshadows the dread to come on her trying to make this relationship work with Seth Rogen. I think, speaking of Seth, I feel he's a decent lead here. Not amazing, but hits the kind of the nice guy notes needed for this rom-com format, and especially in the 2000s, that kind of rom-com format. I mentioned already for the 40-Year-Old Virgin, but Hitch. As like the nice guy rom-com. But I think it's important to understand that the objective for the romance side is more heartwarming than romantic. I think that's a really good, important thing to keep in mind for probably a lot of these Apatow rom-coms. Both of these movies had me reflecting on stronger rom-coms, and stronger specifically in romantics, on the romantic side, in how they portray their leads. And really, I just kind of always came back to 1989's When Harry Met Sally as a highlight that came to mind. That was a rom-com with romance as the focus. These are rom-coms as comedy as the focus.
And that film, correct me if I'm wrong, but you rewatching that, very impressed and almost saying, okay, this is what started a new age, basically. Yeah. That was a bit of a trendsetter for sure.
Absolutely. And still holds up. I haven't listened back to my review, but I look back at that score. I think I gave it a 74 or something like that, and I think still definitely holds up. I think that's great.
Now, as far as Seth Rogen goes, I almost feel like I would enjoy him most in this role, because this is where we're seriously dropping the whole stoner thing, for the most part, right?
Right, yeah. He still is, but his arc is to drop the stoner thing.
Of course. But
and 2 years later, we get Pineapple Express. Then, so.
But just that, almost like you said in 40-Year-Old Virgin, he might be smoking in the scene, but it's not making up the scene.
Yeah.
This just having that natural, almost like becoming a father or whatever like that, that you get in this relationship with Katherine Heigl, where you get a much more tame and just like real dude on screen. And that's beneficial, I can imagine.
And if anything, you hit the nail on the head of why the early parts maybe we're lacking the polish and stitching it together. So many scenes are just Seth Rogen in a gas mask bong with other of his friends laughing at him, and there's just so much there that is just like they clearly just brought some cameras for them to chill out, and great for the improv. I think much weaker in comparison to the structured comedy that the film goes after.
Okay.
And once the plot really kicks off.
So is it trying too hard to set who these characters are in the beginning?
I don't know if it's
like, oh, look at this bum. How's he going to make it?
Yeah, right. If anything, it reminds me of the same feeling, and I didn't really nail it down 40-year-old version, but the same feeling of Steve Carell in his ridiculous fantasy gaming chair with 2 flight sticks glued to it. It's just like, all right, well, that's not clearly I don't know. And not that I'm going out of realism or any shit like that, but it's just, it hits on that same vibe. That maybe it's overkill a little bit. Like I said, though, the comedy works much better in structured scenes versus this kind of open improv stitch, if only for better editing, especially, if anything, the sisters' family, which I would have taken a whole movie of these two. Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann are incredible in this, and have just constant amazing bits of just them bickering and at each other's throats.
They work well together.
It's so good.
So Judd Apatow brings it back there, and This Is 40, and they played, and they're two together. And by the way, she is the wife of Judd Apatow, I'm pretty sure.
In real life?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And she's in basically all of his films.
Yeah.
But the Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann, they're good together.
It's absolute gold. It's the best part about the movie.
Well, maybe This Is 40 will be a watch soon then.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I mean, that's still Apatow, technically. So
writing and directing.
Yeah. They have just this fantastic hate-filled marriage that just it's great because it acts as tension. Because as Rogen and Heigl are watching this unfold, they're like, "Oh God, what is going to happen to us?" They don't want the relationship. And then on top of that as well, I mean, these scenes are just so great. I mean, I seriously think both of them steal the show for both of their respective supporting roles. Mann completely kills any scene she's in, and you actually see Heigl kind of taking a step back in a lot of her performance here. I feel like Heigl was kind of disappointing in the performance just because Mann, she's on screen, she is able to steal the entire spotlight away from her, and to the point that Heigl later on in the film seems to be copying her as well. So it's really a standout. And as far as some of those standout scenes, I think any scene with Leslie Mann freaking out is amazing. My favorite is the child predator tracking site that she just bites the head off of Paul Rudd when he says it's like chicken pox. It's great. And of course, more bro time with Rogen and Rudd, which I think is a highlight here and really great. Without a doubt, the tripping scene in Vegas being the best of the movie, and really solid stuff. For the study, I'm happy to see where this movie works, where it doesn't. Most importantly, coming up for Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, how Apatow can thrive in a full parody style structuring his great comedy. He's got the comedy chops. I just feel like it needs to be in the right shell, and I'm excited for us to talk about Walk Hard in that reason, because he's definitely going to be trying to fit into a shell rather than doing his own thing. I feel like this film is a slight tick up from 40-Year-Old Version, working in a much different way. The films work in different ways.
Yeah, definitely.
But still having that same gooey rom-com center. We're going to go ahead and give Knocked Up 2007 a 69.
Okay, 69. Pretty good comedy. I think it belongs right there, honestly. And I felt the same way. I thought your 40-Year-Old Virgin was like right on the mark as well. These are good comedies, kind of fitting. It fits in a certain place. So if you're in the mood for something like this, go ahead and throw it on.
Yeah. Knocked Up is one that I have seen before, and I always remembered very fondly. So I feel like watching this again, I remembered things funnier than they were. So it wasn't like we'll touch on with Black Dynamite, coming back to these jokes and being like, wow, this is like like still a gold mine. If anything, it was dated in weird ways, and certainly the same for the old version.
Last week we brought up, we were like, oh, didn't he have to do with Talladega Nights and anything like that, or Step Brothers?
Yeah.
And I forgot the whole Adam McKay separate comedy run as well. And who knows, by episode 200, maybe we'll have McKay covered a little bit and Apatow covered, and we can kind of see who is the better at the rated R comedy or something.
Yeah,
you know, a little
who
bit
gets the crown of the 2000s.
Right, the head-to-head battle between those two.
That really is the head-to-head.
Isn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's keep it moving here. We are jumping 2 years ahead. This is 2009, and this is Black Dynamite. Let's get into it. I didn't get a chance to watch it this week. I really wanted to.
Oh,
I know. I had watched it, though, in the past.
Too busy with Major League.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's just jump into it. How did you like Black Dynamite?
Oh, man. Well, I kind of gave up the goat a little bit on this one. I mean, this is something that returning to it was such a joy. Tom, I have no clue how we first watched this back in the day. This was we were hanging out at our friend Dylan's house, and one of the many days after school, and we must have caught it on Showtime or something like that. Unbelievable. Like, I have no idea how this landed on our radar at all. No less, like, still something that we reference today.
And not only that, I didn't realize it was 2009.
Yeah, it's late.
It resembles so much of those old blaxploitation films. Was that late, somewhere in that 70s
Absolutely.
era? Which we covered in our, we had a blaxploitation special.
Yeah.
And this is right there in the same alley. But, I mean, 2009, to have such a punching, funny blaxploitation, I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I absolutely adore this film. And if anything, this one was something that I had to kind of tone back a little bit of my love for this, because I feel like it is such a, I don't know, tough comedy for it to hit all the way 100% for people, because they not only have to understand what's being parodied, they have to kind of get some of the unique comedy. There's also like jokes per at a mile per minute, which I'll explain a little bit. But when it comes down to that, I really do adore this film, just because it has such a maximalist style. It has such every inch of the film is a joke, and it really is. Yeah, I just love it to death. So.
And it's an hour and 24. It's quick and it just goes. It's the way I look at it is, you're either on the ride or you're not. You're either on or off.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's how this is. I don't know if anybody can watch this film and be like, yeah, I kind of liked it. It's not a film that grants that.
Right.
You're in or you're out.
You're in or you're out, yeah. and also, I love, this was the one piece that I was really, really happy to cover for 100th, because it's something that we have referenced. I don't know about double-digit episodes, but we definitely referenced it on the blaxploitation episode. We definitely referenced it on when we did They Cloned Tyrone a few weeks back.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And has been something in our DNA as kind of movie watchers for such a long time. So, Black Dynamite is the love child of 2000s genre parody movies, and, of course, 70s blaxploitation, and also kung fu action films. It became popular enough to get a spin-off show with Adult Swim running from 2011 to 2015. Say what you will. I mean, I like Adult Swim stuff. Is it really the biggest accolade that they got at Adult Swim? So I don't know, but good on them, and bred some life into more than just one movie, because I think a second movie would be inappropriate. It'd just kind of dull every joke. Yeah. So, and personally, folks, while I get a lot of the jokes, and we'll refer to this for definitely the second our second film coming up, getting the jokes. I'm a fan of a lot of these 70s films. I think the movie is so packed to the brim with comedy that it'll work for many, many viewers here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like this has, and I'll explain a little bit more, such a Mel Brooks style, or even a Zucker Abrams style, where I don't know if maximalist is too highbrow of a term, but there's jokes in every inch of the film, whether it's the music, whether it's puns in the background, whether it's running jokes, running gags, slapstick humor. It's just like dripping in comedy that I feel like, in just the same way that we talked about with Airplane, even though one joke may not hit for you, you got 7 lined up that something's going to wear you down.
That's right. That's the thing. Is it going to be? That's when I say you either on or you're off the train.
Right.
Because I could find people really rolling their eyes and just being like, this is so dumb. You got to sink into it. You got to sink into it. Because it's so much, and some of the jokes can be so dumb. And that's where the Mel Brooks thing, definitely.
Yeah.
I like that comparison. It's funny, though, that you think that it might be enough to hit for everybody, though.
I think so.
Because of the wide-ranging.
And it also, and we'll touch on this, honestly, with Outlaw Johnny Black, but it's more than just blaxploitation. It's kind of all of 70s films. It's kung fu. It's equally like
kung fu's fine.
It's definitely Bruce Lee inspired. It's definitely in the realm of like a Maverick, Dirty Harry. Black Dynamite is an ex-CIA agent. You know what I mean? He doesn't play by the rules. And then, of course, it is obviously so directly for blaxploitation. But I feel like there's more. I feel like if you appreciate any kind of 70s cinema, this could.
It's scratching an itch big time. Yeah,
exactly. Folks, let me break it down. Black Dynamite is honestly, I think, one of the best parody movies because it serves as one of the better movies in the genre it rips off. Without a doubt, this has this Mel Brooks style that I've been referring to here because nothing is taken seriously. And every scene, every ounce of this film serves a joke in some way. This has what I'm going to be calling kind of a jokes per minute aspect to it, whether it be rapid fire puns or background jokes that kind of linger and whether you catch them or you don't. That, earlier in my life, watching films, I would always call that just a Mel Brooks style. But as I grow older, obviously through diving into, head first into watching more movies than I've ever watched in my life on the podcast, I find this aspect all over for creative teams. And here in Black Dynamite, every inch of the comedy real estate is used. Nothing is left without a joke. Nothing is left without a ridiculousness.
Every minute is milked on. Yeah.
My man Spawn himself, Michael Jai White, is incredible. Mikey is not, unfortunately, he is very plainly a quantity over quality actor. You look at his acting portfolio, and it's not great.
He's all over the place.
He's next to probably Steven Seagal in the type of movies he's going after.
Okay, interesting.
So I wish he got the love a little bit more.
He kept this character. He was also playing the character in the show as well.
Yes, yeah, he was doing the voice. So, and in some way, when it comes to his comedy chops in this, if anything, if I looked at this and was going in blind, I would doubt it. But where I would not doubt it is, above all, the action. And that's where this kind of falls into a piece where I think this works as not only a good blaxploitation parody, but also one of the best blaxploitation films that you can watch.
I would buy that completely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mikey is a true badass in this, and I really mean that. It might be the single key to why I would call this an actually good movie beyond just the spoof genre. Constantly, he is throwing out the most lethal kicks you have ever goddamn seen. Like, every kick out of this guy is like, okay, oh yeah, that guy's dead. That guy's actually dead. The action in this movie still serves the comedy, but it is just elevated so much about through amazing martial arts from Michael Jai White. And luckily, that is the one piece that is maintained going into Outlaw Johnny Black. That Michael Jai White is just an absolute killer on screen. And I think we've talked about action so much this year. Mm-hmm. If the choreography isn't there, then I almost don't want the action. The choreography is here, and then also the action performance is here, and it really brings it home.
Okay.
I'm telling you, every kick out of this guy is
it feels
lethal.
legit.
It's a lethal weapon. It's no joke. And when it comes to just a sidebar from Michael Jai White, I by no means can I stop his massive acting repertoire. I mean, there's one that looks so much like a Redbox or Voodoo ripoff of Mission Impossible. It's not even funny. It's my God, it looks so bad. But in case this gets to Mr. White at all, listen, there has been some casting peril for the God of War Amazon show. Apparently, The Rock was in the chopping block. He's out, which I think is good. I think The Rock's too big of a personality for that. Kratos needs to be kind of punished but equally badass.
Okay.
And let me tell you, if there is someone to do it, It's Michael Jai White.
That's a big...
I'm telling you.
Really?
He's jacked. He's got the physique for it. Kratos is already voiced by an actor that is, similar looking, but he's a little too old for it now. He's from the old Stargate shows.
Okay.
But let me tell you, I mean, not that my opinion on casting goes anywhere. It goes into the void is where it goes.
For the birds.
Yeah, for the birds. But I'm telling you, this would be some dream casting.
Okay.
I want to see some kicks out of Kratos in the God of War show. I would say another highlight here is that this has just some of the best supporting cast you can ever find in a parody movie, and in that way, it mimics the best of the blaxploitation films that we covered. That the supporting cast were the best.
You love
parts.
the supporting cast for a lot of the times, yeah.
Yeah, in Superfly, like it's the best part of it. So this has a perfect distilling of that Chappelle Show style of character right out of the Player Haters Ball. It's just so many roles. Again, it might be exhausting at a certain point, but so many roles just kind of pop up. They're seconds on the screen. It's a pimp named like Chocolate Giddy Up or something like that, or Cream Corn. Yeah.
Tasty Freeze is Arsenio Hall.
Yeah, and it's just like it's endlessly entertaining. These little bit characters. Actually, I would say the cream of the cast is Cream Corn, played by Tommy Davidson. Who has just such a great scene in a diner. If you haven't seen this film, folks, just look up the diner scene where he's just absolutely berating this poor waitress. this crazy complex order. It's just so great. And I think what I'm driving home here is that all of these scenes are backed by a true-to-form soundtrack that is yet even more space for jokes. I feel like supporting cast and soundtrack kind of fit in this whether you get it or you don't aspect of blaxploitation that I feel like I have an appreciation for it because I know these films. I still think they work just as funny on their own because they're outrageous characters, and the soundtrack you can obviously hear is
it is 100%. Yeah, it really is. It doesn't let up. Everything it drips, oozes. Comedic aspects.
Exactly. That's what kind of leads me to the big question I struggled with on this review. Does the enjoyment of this depend on how much you get the parody? And I would say, like I mentioned in the beginning, folks, this is a parody on all 70s films rather than just blaxploitation. It's very equally in kind of a Bruce Lee style action movie as shades of this kind of maverick, Dirty Harry cop style that is poked fun at. But I'm still not 100% sure someone totally unfamiliar with 70s cinema would get this, you know what I mean? Or it would hit for them.
Yeah, maybe it would just be stupid.
Exactly.
Yep.
That ridiculousness would be, rubber and glue, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just would not go. So I would say this was a big film where I felt I had to dial back some of my love and put on my critic hat here. Admittedly, the plot loses some steam when it gets wackier and wackier towards the end, and especially when more than just blaxploitation is parodied towards the end of the film. And while my heart, in my heart, folks, I want to give this probably a good 5 to 10 more points. I feel strongly about how much the comedic setup in this movie is in every inch of it. That type of commitment, that type of care put into it from the writing team, who is Michael J. White and Bullhorn, the actor that plays Bullhorn in this. That commitment, we talked about that in our Zucker Abrams comedy study, and it's always what I've known Mel Brooks for, and it's basically just an immense love of telling a true-to-form comedy. A comedy 100%, you know what I mean? The purpose is jokes, the design is jokes, and it's in every inch of the film, and that love shown in the comedy is why I believe that will translate to most audiences. We're going to go ahead and give Black Dynamite 2009 a 73.
Man, 73 is a great score.
He goes, oh boy.
I didn't know what you were coming out with there. 73 is a very good score. That's just a good movie right there.
I think,
that's where that sits.
It like I said, I would love nothing more to give it a 79 and then just more so argue for the 80.
That's the thing. And it's such a weird movie. I can just find it's just so polarizing. Mm-hmm. And I just keep on going to either in or you're out. I think a lot of people coming off of this are going to be in your shoes where it's going to... You want to give it 10 or 5 points more.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, let's just tame it down a little bit. Really enjoy it. It's like me with Major League. Got to just bring it back a little bit. Got to calm down. No laces. Come on now.
Right.
But a 73% for Black Dynamite. Vin, I think that's great.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. All right, folks. So let's go ahead and jump into our producer segment. So, Vin, for the 100th episode, we have 2 producers coming in.
Ooh, look at that.
And, we've got, once again, friends of the show. And I was surprised because these 2 already donated in the 90s. I was not expecting another donation from them.
Yeah.
I thought we kind of gave thought they already gave their value, kind of.
I'm excited to hear who chimed in.
And we have both are executive producers because they both donated $100. A true hundy on the hundy. God knows we've been talking about it for how long. So it paid.
He's been pitching it since June, folks.
So listen, I'll just say, so we have Brandon Beebe and Sean Dunleavy coming in again.
Fantastic.
And Brandon just donated. Sean donated recently, like I said, in the 90s. It's incredibly appreciated. So we'll just start with Brandon. He just came in and said, hey, hundy on the hundy, congrats to you both. And that's it.
That's it.
So,
wow.
Brandon, we can't tell you how much we appreciate it. You are closest to a directorship we need to bring up.
Oh, yeah.
So,
why don't we talk about that just a tiny bit?
When you donate a total amount of value of $500, you're now considered a director of the Daily Rating. So it's a fun little title we give you. So whether you want to be Director Brandon, Director Beebe, you make up a name. You want to be Director Sonic? That's how we will address you. When you donate a total of $500, you go ahead and pick a name. You also get to pick a movie for Vin to watch.
Yes.
And you also get sent a goodie bag as well. But Brandon is approaching that $500 mark, so we thank you so much. You have been donating like a fiend. You've been here since the beginning. It's so appreciated. The value you're getting it's great to see. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And the ones like I said, Sean's coming in. He's donated almost, God knows, close to probably 10 times already as well. And Sean writes, wow, 100 episodes. What a great accomplishment. I hope you guys can take a few moments to step back and see where you were at a year ago, even 2 years ago. What started as a podcast idea is now a website, newsletter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube entertainment. Are we paying him or is he paying us?
He's on the take.
This has grown so much over the past 100 episodes. It's been fun to watch from the sideline. You are building a fun community of people who love to talk movies. Keep up the great content and keep being yourselves.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Which I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. And by the way, you haven't been sitting on the sideline. You have been a producer of the Daily Ratings. And we can't thank you enough, Sean. We'll keep being ourselves because
I feel like if there's anything that I think about when this is prospectively a project that's going to go for another 100 episodes, another 100 episodes after that, is just trying to be as genuine as possible.
Yeah.
Because I feel like any moment that I've slipped into trying to maybe make a review more than what it's meant to be, and this is meant to be a watching guide.
Right.
I feel like that's when we break away from the idea that we had originally, that it was just you and me on a couch,
sitting on a couch
talking about movies. I feel like that, keeping that in focus, in the sights, is important, and being as genuine and as real as possible.
Yeah, the essence of what the Daily Ratings is it worth a watch? Watching a movie here and now, is it worth a watch? And here's a quick review before you watch the film.
Exactly.
The dozens and scores of movie podcasts that are out there that will spend a ton of time on one film. Some of them I like. I actually don't like too many film podcasts, actually. I think we do a pretty good job here. But it's just a fact of they're really for heavy movie fans. This is a podcast where it's really for everybody.
Yeah.
If you're a huge fan of film, we have 5 a week where you can hang out with us for a week, and we're just having an open dialogue. We're talking about quick reviews, and we're in and we're out. But also for the person who isn't a huge movie fan, but genuinely interested in a specific film here or there, wondering if a film is actually worth a watch. It's not a chore to listen. You can turn on any episode, go to any movie, and it's going to be a quick 10 to 20-minute segment that you have to sit through that you'll probably enjoy.
Yeah. And more importantly, a utility to basically say, hey, is this film worth your time,
Which is also why most people and almost all other movie podcasts don't have a website like we do. We've created a straight database where, I got to tell you, even Rotten Tomatoes, only recently they did a rebranding of their website, which I still don't think looks all that great.
Okay.
But they're this huge company. They've been around for 25 years, and they just added stuff on their site that we have already, like weird, like specific stuff about films and everything.
Wow.
I was shocked to find that out. It's not many people are doing it like us.
Yeah.
And again, we'll be happy to pat ourselves on the back on episode 100 here. But folks, it really is. It's just me and Vin. It's probably, well, it's not probably. It's over 1,000 hours each of spending time into this so far. Just setting up the website, putting movies on, watching the films, the hours and hours of writing all your pages, your paragraphs of notes. Me making sure the mics are right, which sometimes I get that wrong. It's a busy deal over here. But the point is, it's a huge amount of effort that Vin and I put in this a week. The amount of hundreds of hours before we even were able to launch what we had to put into this.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
We're doing it because we personally love it. We're having a blast doing this, but it means the world to us to see that people are also enjoying it. We were kind of maybe expecting to have maybe a few more faces stop by, a few more producers this episode, but to have Sean and Brandon continue to produce, it's incredible. And I'll just say, I mean, every week I say, hey, more and more the numbers are rising, so we can definitely see people are enjoying it and coming back week after week. So if you are getting value from this, if you're into film more than what you were a year ago, even let's say you were going to go to the movies and see something, but decided to wait till it was free on streaming based on a Vin review. And then sure enough, after watching it, you said to yourself, thank God I didn't go and waste a movie ticket on that film. Didn't waste buying the popcorn, $15 on a soda. That's value in your pocket, legitimately. And if you could, do you feel like buying Vin a movie ticket for that? Or do you just want to show us the value you're getting? You can go to thedailyratings.com and you go to the donations tab. And there's set amounts, monthly, there's a weekly, but there's also the value for value donation. And that's whatever amount of value you feel you're getting from the show, you can go ahead and send that our way, along with a note, just like Sean and Brandon did this week. And what that does also, it makes you a producer, a legit producer of the Daily Ratings. All of you who have produced over the past 100 episodes. We've had some new people come this year. At the beginning of the year, we had a lot of new folks coming in and just telling us how much they're enjoying it, how much value they're getting. It's really great. It's really encouraging for us to see the engagement and also see kind of the numbers going up and up. So if you could, you go to thedailyratings.com and send us a donation, become a producer of the Daily Ratings. And also a way to produce is please tell someone about it. If you're enjoying the show, hey, and if you're talking about movies with somebody, you hear somebody else talking about movies, get us in the conversation a little bit. That's where we want to be. It's been a great 100 episodes. We cannot wait for the next 100. We have a huge show coming up in two episodes from now, our biggest show that we've ever done. That's going to be really great. And some fun stuff on the horizon. Vin and I have been talking, and we're thinking about adding a new kind of special as well, where some of our specials really lately have been essential watching guides, basically. So we have the stop motion essential, zombie essential, and then we also go through our series. So we have Star Trek, we have Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and we think that we kind of want to also add in a third type of special in there, which is a daily deep dive special. Out of our over 1,000 films rated, we have only 10 to 15 actually above a 90%.
Yeah.
We would think it's good to maybe highlight those in a longer episode. We've even been hit up separately by people saying, why don't you do longer? Why don't you spend more time on films?
Sure.
And that's our time to do this. Films that we really love, films that we think are some of the best ever in the past 100 years of cinema.
Yep.
And we might highlight those so you can look forward to some of those specials coming out in the future. Really going deep dive on some of those single, very large films. And we think that's kind of going to be fun, along with other great specials that we have planned for the future as well. It's so great seeing the people that have been along for the journey and new people that are coming on every week. It's awesome to see. Okay, Vin. All right, so we'll keep on moving here. Let's jump to our new release, our now in theaters films. We'll start with the one that's a little bit harder to maybe go see, might be in a theater near you.
Do you know what I did to go see this?
You traveled to go see
I
this.
drove to Bensalem. I drove 40 miles for this.
Okay, so let's jump into it. This is a new release. This is Outlaw Johnny Black. We have some familiar faces in this. So let's get into it right away, Vin. What's this film about, and how does it pair up with maybe Black Dynamite as well?
Yeah, so, I mean, folks, I was stunned by the announcement of this movie, but I don't know if this lands on too many people's radar, even if if you are a fan of Black Dynamite. A spiritual successor to Black Dynamite was honestly a dream come true for me this year, but I think it is a tough sell for even the fans of the movie to be aware of this. It's a switch up in naming, it's a switch up in parody, and unless you're really tracking the individual actors, even Michael Jai White, who is now first time directing here, I just don't know how this film, really gets to even the people that want to see it. Point in case, I had to drive 40 miles to see this. 11 a.m. showing. I don't know.
I don't think it's on a lot of people's radar. I mean, it fits into the cult following.
Yeah.
Just like a film like Black Dynamite has a cult following.
Sure.
There's only the people that are going to be interested in it. But I feel like this movie might punch in a good way.
Yeah. I was certainly hopeful. This movie swaps the parody subject from blaxploitation and 70s kung fu out for a singular Western theme, and I think that has potential. Both are old types of movies with a rich background of tropes and cliches that you can basically make as many jokes as possible at, but equally I feel like they are challenged because the parody may not hit for the mass appeal of audiences unfamiliar with the genre, and this is where, like I spoke in the last review, the get it factor.
Yeah.
Do you get the parody? And I feel like it's so much more on a knife's edge for that.
So Vin walked in today, and the first thing I said was, I think this is the film for me. And my immediate reaction to kind of just watching clips of it, speaking of Mel Brooks, I mean, this takes me...
It's Blazing Saddles.
It takes me right back to Blazing Saddles, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Tom, it brings me no joy. Oh, man.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Bad, huh?
This movie just doesn't hit. I think it's important that I be real about it. I mean, coming off piggybacking off the genuine, aspect here. I feel like it's important that I'm real about it because I am someone that got all the jokes and all the stylings and all the parody to the Western. This is missing some magic. Maybe it's just been too many years, a little bit.
Wow, it surprises me because the writing team's the same.
Writing team's identical.
Yeah.
And really the only person we're missing is the director of Black Dynamite, but not that he had a huge filmography to be like, oh, that was a pillar of the talent, there. It was just, I feel like Michael Jai White directing here, not a bad thing whatsoever, but just, unfortunately this movie just did not hit. Michael Jai White returns kicking some serious ass and directing for his first time as far as a feature film goes. And really, folks, my only concern going into this film, I kind of almost walked blindly into gunfire, thinking that this was going to be, I was going to like it.
Right.
But my only concern walking into this was that how is that fighting action going to be stripped out and possibly replaced with like new gunslinging scenes? I'm happy to say Mike does plenty of amazing up close fights where it works, and his kicks are still like the best thing ever. I'm telling you, man. Like
it's many years later now. I mean,
oh yeah,
Black Dynamite was 2009.
Absolutely, he's still jacked. He
looks good. Yeah.
I'm telling you, he needs to get into better action films because martial arts wise, he kicks some serious ass. But folks, something is missing from this movie, sadly, and it just breaks my heart because, like I said, I was never asking for a sequel to Black Dynamite. I did not expect a sequel ever to Black Dynamite, so this was something I was pretty excited for, and possibly there was an element of overhype. Unfortunately, there's just something missing in the formula here. Black Dynamite's comedy worked because it was, one, supremely ridiculous, every ounce of it.
Okay.
Two, I think a soundtrack that worked both as parody and, as a real good soul soundtrack to a blaxploitation film. Thirdly, had an amazing supporting cast that gave kind of just these golden comedic performances that got in and got out. They didn't, outstay their welcome. This movie slips a little bit in each one of those. The movie has a slightest bit of a more serious tone and tips into being not very funny at all. This is closer to being kind of a knockoff Django Unchained than being Black Dynamite. Many scenes are taken entirely serious, especially origin type of scenes. Where I don't think a single scene, period, was taken seriously in Black Dynamite. So, not even saying that Django Unchained Django Unchained is kind of funny at times. Certainly has a Tarantino humor,
a ridiculousness at times. Yeah,
and this film tries more to be a kind of a Tarantino humor to it, dark, ultra violent like that, but. That's not why Black Dynamite worked, because Black Dynamite was 100% comedy, and this is just...
You can't be on that roller coaster, that clown nose on and then off.
Yes.
It's too jarring.
Yes.
You need to be in a lane.
Yeah. A perfect example of this is Bullhorn is in this again. I forget, something Mins. Byron Mins?
Byron Mins, yeah. He's also a writer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can see it in this character that he comes in and he has that energy that is in Black Dynamite. Up until that point in the film, that energy was not there, and they sit down at a campsite, and there's like some similar, like, just like out of place funny jokes, but like they're so shocking that it's just like, oh, this is great. He gets punched at one point. It's awesome, but it feels like so night and day for what the film is going for as kind of a semi-functional Western up until that point. And again, closer to Django Unchained than Black Dynamite. I also think the focus is in the wrong place because it's so central on Johnny Black that we get nowhere near the amount of love given to supporting cast. And I cannot stress enough, supporting cast is why Black Dynamite works so well, because we're constantly being introduced to these little funny bit characters. Once again,
it's part of the magic.
In a Western genre, you have the same quality going into a no-name town and, man with no name type of aspect and, the townies and the hicks and all that. But when it comes down to it, nothing is really done with those characters. They're all very plain. They're all very just Western characters. Then they're
just plug and play. It's almost like you're checking off boxes.
Yeah.
We need this character. We need this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And important for the parody, but when every inch of it isn't being used for a joke, I think this is
fallen flat.
Yeah, it's fallen flat, unfortunately. This has a good handful of returning actors for sure, but honestly, none of the roles were working, anywhere close to as how they worked in Black Dynamite, and you can feel it in that opening ramp up again of the plot that doesn't have the jokes per minute aspect needed. It's taken much more as kind of a serious, not serious, but a campy, a B-movie type of Western backstory to it. Certainly comedic in ways, but not comedy.
Not Black Dynamite comedy.
Yeah, not Black Dynamite comedy. I would say the ingredients that are still here hit, and it's that action with Michael Jai White. And definitely some of the comedy in the right places. But even the movie genre parody, I feel, is weaker here, having so much less real estate to work with in this Western styling. Some aspect, I think, are just drop balls in comedic writing. Music is a perfect example of this. You look at Black Dynamite, you have these soulful ballads, they're telling stories, it's like the guy's just talking over the music, but that's the style.
That's the point. Yeah,
that's the point. I feel like music's a perfect example of a drop ball here, is because you have just of a rich specifics to Western music. Is it the classic Western style, or is it kind of this spaghetti Western electric guitar? Is it like these ballads, the OG
the old
Django?
School? Yeah,
or the songs that the songs that like a Tarantino would pull from that are like still have lyrics in it, and that can be comedic jokes in the music. None of that is really done, and
it's just for basic kind of
just
cookie cutter Western music.
Yeah, just cookie cutter.
I wonder
tumbleweed
with Michael Jai White in So in Control, I wonder if he wanted it to be taken seriously. He wants to be taken seriously, his character, or
possibly.
I don't know.
I really don't know what happened here. and as you can tell, I'm sad. I was rooting for this film, but I think it's a tremendous lost opportunity with everything you can do from these Western stylings. A Wilhelm screen, making fun of like OK Corral and different things like that. And it's weird because I feel like maybe they thought they were stepping on the toes of a Blazing Saddles or other type of parody Westerns. What's that god-awful one with Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane?
That was in my mind, too. That terrible one.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in the West?
Oh, no.
No.
Careful now.
It's close to that. It's Once Upon a Time.
I didn't care for that movie either, but I think it's 1,000 Ways to Die in the West or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, right. But I feel like maybe they were trying to avoid old hat already in that parody, but by doing that, they don't really act on anything unique or of its own,
sure.
and most of all, not funny. Now, granted,
that's tough.
I went into a 11:40 showing, 11:20 or 11:40. I forget what it was. Bright and early.
Those are my favorite showings.
Right. I'm surprised how many people were actually in the theater. No joke. There was just no laughter. It was dead.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, heartbreaking. It was not what I wanted. Not what I wanted at all. So I'm sorry, folks, but I was so excited for this and rooting for this so hard. Rooting for Michael J. White.
Yeah.
First-time director. Good on him. I want to see more from him. But I think the biggest aspect that hurts this film is it's impossibly too long. Pacing is a double dose of molasses. Both
2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
A movie like this cannot be that long.
Yeah.
It cannot be.
It's compounded both by that runtime. Also, it's compounded by that slower Western stylings.
Yeah.
All things equal, I feel like this story has to unfold a little slower to fit into the Western genre, parody or not. So, not to make this entire review a comparison to the first, but you can see it clear in that runtime. First film, 1 hour, 24 minutes. This, 2 hours 15, 2 hours 10.
It's way too long. Yeah. It doesn't mean that this needs to be 1 hour 24.
Right, because if anything, that's maybe an outlier. Maybe that's too short, you know what I mean?
But for Black Dynamite, it's electric.
Yeah.
For this, like you said, okay, maybe naturally have to be a little bit slower, develop more of a Western type of thing. It can't be so fast, but still. 2:10? It's just pushing it.
I know.
He's like chop off 20-minute, half an hour probably.
Yeah. And maybe that is what kind of shows that the jokes per minute, they are diluted, actually.
Yep.
Maybe the joke focus is there, but it didn't hit because it wasn't side by side, and they were stretched out a little bit more. And I don't know. Even reflecting on the film just right now, I think back to moments where there's no jokes in the opposition. There's this rich white landowner that is the villain here, and none of his stuff is joke oriented. Where in Black Dynamite, I mean, no spoilers, but Nixon is in the movie as a joke. You know what I mean? So it just man, disappointment. It's a disappointment. Man. Yeah, I think there's a lot of heart put into this film, and believe me, I will be the first in line to see White's next film, no matter what. But sadly, this comes as a disappointing spiritual successor to one of the funniest parody movies in my experience watching. We're going to go ahead and give Outlaw Johnny Black a 36.
Whoa, 36.
I know.
36%?
It gives me no joy.
Oh my God, that's bad. That's way worse than I thought it was going to be.
And if anything, if I'm being honest, maybe that's kid gloves. Maybe it deserves to be a little bit worse.
Wow, it was that rough.
I
can't believe that.
I know. I was walking out of that theater in this desolate, empty mall wasteland, and I was just like, I just
disheartened.
Silence the whole way home. No radio, no.
It wasn't even 1% a mile.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, that's how it's gonna be worth it from now on. 1% a mile. That's great.
Wow, that's really shocked by that because so much of the same talent is there for the second one.
Yeah.
It's Western theme. I mean, like I said, up my alley. But
I
okay,
know.
36%. Wow.
And maybe if you do, have the time, definitely rewatch Black Dynamite because I would love to see how it hits for you after so many years of us.
I'm excited to watch that again.
But
I'll watch
also,
that after Major League.
I would. Right. But I would also like you to watch this one because, again, I almost just want man.
Do you think I'd like it more because of the Western dressings?
I'm hoping so. Mm-hmm. But again, that's kind of where I started this off is I don't know how this hits for someone that doesn't get the things. I got it. But I don't know
who
how
is this movie for?
Right.
This movie is for if you truly love Black Dynamite and White.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, wow.
So
it's not in a lot of theaters. I mean, it's in 300 theaters.
Right,
it's probably going to be even less this coming weekend.
Yeah.
But
more so, I feel this this disappointment, this sadness, because I want to give smaller movies a shot, and certainly this was a movie I was really rooting for.
Yeah,
so,
you were looking forward to this one.
Yeah, but
man, 36, one of the weakest of the years that we've had.
I would say so.
For Outlaw Johnny Black. Okay, let's keep it moving here. This is our last film, our new release still. This is A Haunting in Venice. This is all part of the rebirth of the
Whodunit.
Yes,
Agatha Christie.
But this is proper, still somewhat connected with the Nile movie, right? Yep. Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express.
Yep.
So basically, it's directed by Kenneth Branagh, who also stars in it. It's taking jumping on the horror theme for this year. They clearly know what's hitting in the theaters right now.
Yeah.
So we're in Venice. It's a little bit more spooky themed, spooky whodunit. It is an hour and 43. It's snappy. It's rated PG-13. So how does all of that together work in this film?
Droll.
Okay.
Yeah, folks, it's another spin with Agatha Christie and director-actor Kenneth Branagh. My personal experience with this series, I only saw the first, 2017's Murder on the Orient Express. So I'll come right out and say give that a 55.
Okay.
It's pre-podcast, so I don't know. Maybe that will hold up, but maybe it won't. I think it will hold up, though.
Maybe that works for that film, yeah.
And I never saw the second one in 2002, Death on the Nile. We were running the podcast, too. Not sure what happened there. Just didn't do it.
Just floated away.
Yeah, I think it was like a February release or something. So as far as the competition goes, peer films resurrecting this whodunit genre is where I think something interesting is happening. We do have Knives Out, gave that a 40, but we did have Glass Onion, which I gave a 68. So
yeah, it's pretty good.
In that Glass Onion review, you will see the same opinion I have today. I am not really rooting for these films to come back in any sort of way. Unless the whodunit evolves, I don't have a lot of praise for stylistic rewashes of old hat.
Can I throw in one thing in there?
Sure.
Bodies.
Yes.
You liked. And because it was fresh, new, and they did something different with the whole whodunit thing.
Exactly.
I'll make another comparison with the baseball stuff. This is the baseball of the 80s. This is now the whodunit of the late teens and 2020s.
Absolutely.
And
that's going to be the shorthand on the podcast now.
Because it really is a rebirth from it.
Yeah.
And I don't really think anyone was asking for it. Again, the Murder on the Orient Express on, 2017, it's the third or fourth time cinematically done.
Yep.
But sure enough, they're sticking with it.
Yeah.
But again, here they're trying to put a horror aspect on it.
Yeah.
It's what's hot right now in theaters. It's what Bodies kind of was. And I was almost excited for you. I was like, maybe this is something for Vin, at least in this one.
Yeah, but really, how I put that is, at least for these Agatha Christie direct adaptations, this, I guess, is based off of Halloween Party. I don't know. I've never read any of that stuff.
Right.
That's how I would really word it, as just like these stylistic rewashes of old hat. It's a new coat of paint. That can be all someone needs, especially of lovers of whodunits, or maybe just someone that is new to this and discovering that they like kind of puzzling things together. But just a rewatch.
Maybe this is it's really for the people who love this genre.
Yeah.
I can almost imagine it's like an Agatha Christie book. If you enjoy her books, okay, then you're excited for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the bulk of the population is, okay, so it's another Agatha Christie book.
Exactly.
We're doing the same thing, kind of.
Exactly.
And maybe that's just what the movies are now.
Yeah. For that matter, I mean, I don't know who was really asking for a third one in this little micro series. It seems like Branagh is really like in charge of not only, I mean, he's obviously directing, he's acting as the main character. There's some praise there I can give maybe for, a consistent character performance, but like who wants this? Let Haunting in Venice out. Let it out of the house. I mean, get on out of here.
And he must be pissed because he's no Daniel Craig. Like people love the Glass Onion crap because people love to see, like, people love Craig in those films.
Yep. As this larger than life, like, master detective.
And we like Kenneth Branagh and stuff, but
yeah. I wasn't going to bring it up, but actually, I was talking with producer Matt D about Belfast, which was...
he knocked it out of the park.
I mean, killed it. That's an amazing movie. He must just love these stories to death.
Yeah, he was getting paid a lot.
Sure. But if he's getting paid a lot, who's seeing these damn movies? I believe, according to the newsletter, this was under The Nun 2.
Yes, it was.
So what the hell? Let's go on for some summary, folks. Once again, we follow Master Detective Hercule Poirot at the end of his days, grumpily retired in Venice. I don't know how you're grumpy in Venice, but I guess you can be grumpy anywhere.
Once again, Italy film, by the way.
Right.
We touched on, remember?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Something about Italy. It's the new spot.
It's the new Georgia. It's new Canada. It's new Georgia. And got those tax breaks. As a slight wrinkle to this kind of age-old character, he's going through a bit of a crisis, losing his purpose in life through this life of leisure that he's taken on. It's just not kind of sitting well with him. We investigate a past murder through a spooky Halloween seance and plunges into a new murder mystery. This gives us our mansion to seal the suspects in, and Poirot gets to work doing what he does best, finding the murderer. I don't have a huge amount of praise for this film. I would say cinematography is a highlight here, though. Camera work has a priority on symmetry, almost feeling like a little bit of a slight Wes Anderson ripoff or imitation. I don't want to be,
That surprises me in a film like this.
Yeah, it kind of tapers off, but definitely first hour, there's like almost an obsession with symmetry and kind of setting up our players, if you will, our character roles. And I think it's a good match because this kind of Venetian architecture bathes the setting in a gorgeous style. And then this Halloween theming is a unique spin on the typical romantic look of the setting. The romantic look of Venice. I feel like this is a departure of that to depict it more gothic, more dark.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting match for the cinematography and something that, at least initially, I was really eyes peeled on this one. I would say there's not much of an Italian feel beyond that, though, since all of our cast has British accents, presumably in a choice to fill this Agatha Christie stage play feel. I'm not actually sure why. I mean, again, I haven't read these books, but they're all British. I was just like, I don't know.
Tina Fey's doing a British accent?
Not British, but definitely like a little bit like 40s proper.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, bottom line, let me say it clear.
Okay.
We're not getting any mortadella, you know what I mean? This needed, let me tell you, I can't believe I'm saying this, Tom. This needed a little bit of BFGW3. And we needed some Italian, we needed some Mediterranean in this. I mean, Christ. We needed some mortadella.
You like that?
Okay. Without a doubt, though, this film does not boast the same advantages as previous entries, and certainly not its peer competition, and that's primarily a strong cast. I feel like if there's anything bringing back these whodunits, it's that you get a good dice roll of what cast is being put in there.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I feel like that was half the driving point of Glass Onion.
That was 3/4 of the driving point.
Yeah.
All the big characters in there.
Absolutely.
That's why you watch. That's why you flip it on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So while I was happy to see both Michelle Yeoh and Tina Fey here, I think acting performance leave a lot to be desired in this. Across the board, all accent work either feels bland or is flat out bad. And I know this is trying to have a horror spin, but everyone is in such a pronounced role in the whodunit setup that I never felt the fear translate to film. I never felt the fear really being sold by these characters. It's hard to explain, but the mystery did not let the horror be anything more than style, be anything more than window dressing. If this was going to tout a horror mystery, I feel like it had to be at least a little scary.
That's PG-13 is really hindering himself.
Yeah. And then on top of what I mean by these characters are so ingrained in their role is that, perfect example, you have a kid character that he's like a boy genius in this. Plays a very particular role in how things unfold. But this is a child. He can be a little scared when there's some spooky ghost stuff. There's a seance done in this movie. I feel like characters are either trying to be too cool or having to play a specific type of role in being a red herring for the whodunit or grabbing our attention for suspicions of who's going to be the killer, that no one was ever scared in the horror. And that's where the horror was just kind of windows dressings on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, if the characters aren't playing up to what's supposed to be scary and spooky, then it's not hitting at all.
Yeah.
I doubt it's hitting the audience.
Exactly. And especially in Branagh playing Poirot, and then as well Tina Fey's character, they're just like too cool to be scared. You'll get a couple scenes where he goes to the bathroom and his hands are shaking a little bit, but then he's right back into it. And it's just like, don't call this a horror. This is stylings at best. At best.
I think we even made a comment, like when it was just still being pitched and it was commercials.
Yeah.
That both of us were like, it actually might looked a little spooky. Like it seems like it had something going for it.
Absolutely. So, and maybe that piggybacks off of some of my praise for the setting, styling, and things like that, but nothing more than just surface level there. And folks, I really tried to engage with this one, if anything, to overcome any disposition. I don't like whodunits. I think they're predictable. I feel like the story is prescribed. It's shoveled out to you. I really, sat my ass down in the seat, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try to theory craft alongside the master detective, and I'm going to try to get over what I don't like in these whodunits. And folks, I'm sorry, this story was not only boring to puzzle together, but unraveling, and the unfolding of the mystery feels more prescribed than ever. The shit that Hercule pulls out of his ass. I mean, it's not even a matter of paying attention to the beats. It just feels like there's just it's in a very bad way a roller coaster, in a very bad way on rails. I don't know how I maybe counter that in a film, because obviously it's a movie. It's the story is the story. It's not like it's got to change or choose your own adventure or anything like that. But for some reason, these whodunits feel like it's got its mind made up by the seconds you're with the characters on the film.
Yeah.
That's at least some of my position here. And I think above all else, if I really had to address this to A Haunting in Venice specifically, it was just boring. Oh my God. So boring, so not scary. I mean, you think maybe the horror then would step in. It's just, no, it's not. Like I said, with all these, if the dice roll of the cast hits for you folks, this movie I think will hit a lot more, but I'm feeling a pass on this entry, and hopefully we don't get a fourth. Let's go ahead and give A Haunting in Venice a 44.
Ooh, 44. I mean, I don't know if we will. I don't know if the point is the trilogy.
Right.
But
I don't know how many
more
Christie, stories there are. I mean,
there's going to be one more Glass Onion. Ryan Johnson's going to do a third one.
Sure.
And then what's his face? The murder mystery 1 and 2. Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler. They have Murder Mystery 1, Murder Mystery 2 on Netflix.
I don't even know.
That's a whodunit. I mean, they're everywhere.
Thank God I didn't.
I just don't think no one was asking for The Nile. No one was asking for Venice.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a weird trend.
It really is.
They're all not making that much money, but I don't know. It could be. Who knows? But a 44% is not boding very well.
No. Yeah, and believe me, I'll be happy to sing Branagh's praises as a director when he does something kind of apart from this series. And if you're craving my kind of commentary on that, folks, check out our review on Belfast. Yes, that really is a phenomenal movie.
You really like that? Was definitely.
I think we give that like an 83 or something.
Yeah,
like that,
it was a really good film.
Yeah.
Okay, Vince. So on our 100th episode here, any lasting notes? Anything to touch on, or roll credits?
Well, like I said, I think just how I said in the producer segment, I think 100 episodes under my belt, my priority is being genuine. And if anything, I mean, these were not stellar scores, but I tore apart something I was rooting for very hard. I think being genuine is the goal. Happy to have episode 100 be under our belts, and happy to do another 4.
I'm excited. On to the next 100, really.
Yeah, so 5 movies a week till I die.
Folks, we hope you enjoyed this 100th episode. Again, if you're interested, go ahead and just stop by thedailyratings.com. You can check out all our extra content there. And if you want to show us some value back to us, just go to the donations tab. We appreciate all of you who have been on the ride, joining us every single week. It's so great to see. Like I said, very, very encouraging. So, Vin, thank you so much, Mr. Genuine Daily. And folks, we'll run it down one more time. We have Major League with a 60%, Knocked Up with a 69, Black Dynamite with a 73, Outlaw Johnny Black with a 36, and A Haunting in Venice with a 44%. Folks, thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week here on the Daily Ratings Podcast. Hey, folks, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or tell a friend about us. And like I said, if you're wondering if a film is worth a watch, or if you'd just like to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com. We have our ever-expanding catalog of films. And then also, if you found value in the podcast or our website, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you receive from us. Remember, we're doing it this way because we're looking to build this into something large and special. We want to be independent from those corporate sponsors. So we greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.